No? Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcelia Strickland. I'm one of the admins of BAU, Black Authors United. And today we have Miss Cheryl Peavy with us, author of Take All the Time That You Need. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Cheryl.
Well, I am a I'm a life coach, a speaker, and an author, and I work with young girls and women from diverse backgrounds who are faced with life traumatic situations, and they are nurtured and supported, resulting in personal abundant growth and transformation. And I am a mother of a teenager, and
Oh,
yeah, that takes up a lot of my time.
now you have a boy or a
Oh
girl?
boy. And
Oh, wow.
teenage boys, they're fine one minute, moody the next. I don't get that,
Right.
but
Let's see. To write this book.
I decided to write this book after I lost my mother and grandmother 2 weeks apart, and they both were in hospice. And what I learned by this experience is that hospice offers like counseling for a year after you lose a loved one, but it didn't help me. She talked about the different stages of grief and things that you'll experience, but after that year, I just still felt like I was in the same place. And I did research for myself about the different stages. And as I was doing that, I thought about a lot of people, everybody's at one point in their life is going to experience a loss of someone very close to them. And I wanted to share my story, but also write this book just to as a helpful, guide for people if they don't understand the stages and what happens each stage. And it doesn't matter how long you're in each stage. It's all these 5 stages everyone goes through, and just try to give some encouragement and some hope that you can I don't say you get over the loss of a close loved one, because you don't, but you learn how to cope, and yet you can still live your life, but it's always going to be different.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss. And yeah, people fail to realize that it's different for each person.
Yes.
And for one person, it might be going at a decent pace of what she's teaching at, but for somebody else, they might be stuck in a stage,
Yeah.
and you're just forcing them to try to move to the next step. So I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What is your favorite quality about your character?
I would say that when you think, for me, it's the strength. When you realize you just don't think you have it in you, that you're not strong, I'd say it's strength. I realized how strong I was by going through the process, even though I didn't feel that way. But that's strength is the word I would use.
I agree. I agree. Any step is a step, a good step.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. What do you want people to take away from your story?
I just want people to take away that they're not alone. Sometimes actually you do feel alone when you lose someone, especially when you lose your mother.
Right.
You feel like no one understands. And a lot of times people don't understand who haven't lost their mother. It's a different type of feeling. For me, it was, I died as well. That was, your mom is who you've been with all your life, and you lose a part of yourself. And honestly, I felt like I was an orphan, because I was like, what am I going to do now without my mom? That was unconditional love for me. She accepted me the way I was. She just was like my cheerleader. And I was like, okay, that's all gone. So no one can fill her position. So I'm like, I just want everybody to know that you're not alone. Everybody goes through this process, and that there's hope. There's hope. You can, and I don't want to say heal, because I mean, you do heal, but it's just that you just have to learn how to live your life a different way.
Right.
And I just want people to understand you can move on. You can continue to live.
Yeah, I personally can't imagine that. Like, I can't imagine at all.
It wasn't
I can't even begin to imagine that.
It was an unbelievable experience. Honestly, I went to hell. That's what I felt like it was, because you can't describe it. Everybody goes
Right.
through that, but you can't describe. It's hard to describe what you're feeling, because I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about anything. Nothing mattered, and I kept saying to myself, I was on an automatic pilot, but I knew and I kept saying, God is amazing, because if I didn't have my son, if I didn't have something else to keep me moving, I wouldn't have been here. I would have just curled up in the corner and just died myself. So,
Now, what exactly happened to your mom, if you don't mind me asking?
let me see. I think between 8 and 9, my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So it just progressed throughout the years. There's no cure for it, so they said she was going to get worse and worse and worse. But the same time that the end of her life came was the same day that her mother passed away. So I think the news of her mom passing away, and the same day my mother was rushed to the hospital, and because my stepfather couldn't revive her. Yeah. So we figured out that he told her, her mom passed, and that was just it for her. I think she just said, my mom's not here as well. Right. What's the point?
I can't think of the actual medical term for it, but you can actually die from a broken heart.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
All right, let's see what else we have. Okay, are you planning on writing any other sequels or any other publications you're planning on putting out?
I thought about expanding the ebook to, to make it more in depth. Right. Because it was just like a light overview. I thought about doing that, but I'm also currently working on creating an anthology of about a people pleaser, because I used to be a people pleaser.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, that's my next project.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm definitely going to buy this one for sure after we wrap this up. I'm going to go ahead and buy it.
Appreciate it.
Let's see. What has been your hardest obstacle as far as selling your book, marketing? What has been the hardest obstacle you've encountered?
I think one of the hardest obstacles for anyone to encounter is fear.
Yes.
Fear of, okay, I wrote this book. You're afraid that people wouldn't be interested in it. They may not like your story, because I guess it's how you look at yourself. And I came to realize that you have to take risks, you have to have faith, and you have to do things out of fear, because fear will stop you from moving on, living your dreams, being happy. And to me, the biggest obstacle is myself.
Right. I can agree with that. I can definitely attest to that.
I
met a. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I had met a friend. She sells books as well. She wrote a book, and she's really outgoing. And me, I'm really an introvert. So while I'm watching her just talking to people and selling her book, I'm just like looking around like, oh, I have to get over this. So I agree with that 100%.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see. While writing this story, did you ever get writer's block, or did it just flow?
This just flowed because it was so personal, and it was very emotional. And that for me was a way of healing, writing everything out, putting it on paper, releasing anger, because anger is one of the stages you go through. You're angry, you're mad at everything, everybody. So to me, this was another way of a step towards letting it go and feeling better.
Oh man. So did you write it in like a journal, or were you did you write it flat out, like flat manuscript, or was it like pieces and bits that you pulled together?
It was just at that time when I decided I wanted to write something, I just wrote it out. Everything out. So it's interesting with something so personal, and you really want to release and share it. It's easy to seem to write then, because it's just it's just what you're going through.
It was easier to connect and get the flow going.
Yes.
Let's see. What do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment so far?
You know what? I would say being a mom, because I'm telling you, I never pictured myself being a mother, and and it has grew me up. It grows you up. Being a parent grows you up. And I'm telling you, before I had him, I was like, I can't even remember what my life was like without him. So that is my biggest accomplishment. So just hope that what I've been teaching him, that when he becomes a man, it will stick.
Right. Of course it will. They say if you drill it in good enough, it'll stick.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So, reach out and connect with you.
Well, right now I'm revamping my website, so you can connect with me on various social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or you can always email me at capcxp@twc.com.
Okay. I want to write that down.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
It's C as in cat, AP as in Paul, C, X as in X-ray, P@twc.com.
All right, that's for my personal use.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see. We're going to reach out to the listeners right now if y'all have any questions. And I'll read it to her.
Okay.
I guess we can continue talking until somebody posts a question or something. Let's see if I have any other questions. This is such a touchy subject. And I did read about it to the interview.
Okay.
And, I must say, you really are strong to be able to come. I
want to tell people that I've had a lot of people come to me and say, you're not over it yet. And I always say that grief is a process, and there is no time limit on grief.
Right. I can't believe somebody would ask that.
Oh, I had several people say, it's been a long time already. You should be over that. And I'm like, you don't get over that. You just
right. That's not something you just like. Oh my goodness, what an insensitive question.
It is, but that just shows you that, and then what I also learned that a lot of people handle grief differently. Some close, people to them, maybe it hasn't bothered them to the degree as someone else. But like I said, everybody is entitled to grieve in their way, and as long as they want to, there's no time limit.
Right.
But, I don't know why people put a time limit on that. There isn't.
Right. Did you have a lot of, support from families and friends?
During that time, I also learned who my real friends were, because during that time, everybody's saying they're sorry and I called it like lip service. They were saying the same thing. If you need, I'm here for you, reach out to me. But then when I started to reach out, a lot of people don't like talking about death or hearing about it. So they say, I'm busy or, but I was like, okay, so that was an eye-opening experience.
Right.
And then also during that process, I learned what my purpose was too, because I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say that I didn't want to die, because I did. That was my mom. I'm like, that just hurt me to my core. And
that's understandable.
And that's where I was in a place where I just wanted to die. Because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And through that process, honestly, no one saved me but God, because I was like, God, either show me my purpose or just let me die. And God was like, I've just been waiting for you to ask me. And I'll tell people, God will not push himself on you. He won't do that. So I just asked God to save me and show me my purpose, and he did. So, I feel like I have an obligation to share my story, to give others hope that they can they can do it. And like, if you're still having trouble, dealing with the loss of a loved one, we can talk. I can, really share some other insights and things that I've learned to help you adapt.
Because I know that's got to be, I mean, that's got to be a sickening feeling for somebody to say, I'm here if you need me, and you reach out and they're just like, oh, I'm busy doing. That's got to be a hurt feeling, like
it is
going through.
It is. You call someone or you text them and you don't hear back from them. Then you eventually start to figure out, okay, they don't want to be bothered because they already know what you want.
Right.
So it was a life-changing experience. And I'm glad that I went through that process to learn who my real friends are, because I had to let people go.
Right. They say when it's dark is out, you see who really with you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I do have a question from one of our listeners, from Anna Lewis. She wants to know, how did your son feel about you writing the book?
One thing that I also want to express to you, if you have kids, and that was a great question I thought about, if you have kids, and he was very close to his grandmother, and for him, I asked him to share memories. So he would say different things of what he remembered. And he was very happy that I wrote the book, but then I also think when you're caught up in grief, we tend to forget how it affects kids. Because even though they're not going to say how they feel, their actions speak so much louder.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I was going through my own thing, I noticed the change in his behavior, and just talking to him and saying, what do you remember? Share some memories that you recall. And he did. And I told him I was writing this book, and he just thought it was great.
Oh, that's good. Mm-hmm. That's good that you had his support too. So
yes.
Let's see. We have another question. Let's see. How do you feel now that you're walking in your purpose?
Awesome. It's like it's just like I'm a new person in sense that, how do I explain it? It's a wonderful feeling knowing that I have a purpose, and going through that situation. Because I'm telling you, I was angry at God, because you get angry at God and you question it. So I was like, God, why would you take the only person that loved me unconditionally away from me? Mm-hmm. And he had to show me that your mom was sick. She had a debilitating disease there was no cure for. She's at peace. She's better now. And you have to remember, he kept telling me, remember all the things that she taught you. Remember the good things. Because I will share with you, I have a picture of her in my car on my visor, and I have a card that she gave me, many years ago in my purse. And sometimes when you go through things, and in the beginning too, I would always be like, oh gosh, I wish I could call my mom. I'm going to call her. And I would pick up the phone, and I'm like, I can't, she's not here. But in certain situations when I really am going through something, I think about how she would handle things and the things that she would say to me. And I keep saying it's okay to cry. Like when her birthday comes, I go through something on that day. It's a memory of trying to do something special, even the day she passed. So you don't forget. No one says you're supposed to forget. You have to allow your feelings and your emotions. You have to just live them, because that's how you learn. Yeah, that's how you learn to grow and just continue on. So I'm really happy that I'm walking in my purpose, and my purpose is to help women, who are going through or have been. It doesn't matter if you've experienced something and you haven't gotten over it. I just want to be there to help you, because I've been through a lot more than this. So, yeah. Man,
and I've always been the person who people come to talk to, because I learn from other people's experience. So I've always enjoyed, talking to people, allowing them to talk to me, because in a lot of conversations, it's people who don't allow you to talk. They just want to do all the talking.
Yes.
And they don't, even if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, I'm feeling this way today.
Yeah.
The person who likes to talk will just be like, well, I'm feeling this way today. They just go on a whole spiel about how they feel.
Yes.
So I'm just a listener.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to vent and have someone listen. So that's me. That's me.
Okay, so our last question is from C. Long. He wants to know about the positive feedback of your writing. Someone who has helped by your testimony, and someone who was helped by your testimony.
The positive feedback of my writing?
Yes, ma'am.
I have had some people come back and say that, I've had people say to me, you don't look like what you've been through. And one thing I say, just because I've been through something doesn't mean I have to look like that way. You don't. And a lot of times I think that's looks are deceiving. Just because someone may look happy, you don't really know what they've been through. But I've had a lot of people say they appreciate me sharing my story, because the part where I talk about in the book that, you take all the time you need and no one can tell you when to heal and how to heal. And a lot of people say that's great to hear that someone else has been through something and they can relate to that. And then you said the second part of his question was what? I'm sorry.
Let's see. It was who was someone that was helped by your testimony?
I have a Facebook group called She Is You, and there are some women in there have just talked about, they've read the book and just said that it was just something that really was special, and they got to know me a little bit better. But they said, they could pass it on to someone else who's hurting and hasn't quite learned how to cope with their loss.
Wow. I understand that. And you know what, I feel like this is a conversation that a lot of, preteens, I think this is something they need to hear, because I feel like this generation coming up, they don't understand that eventually, or they're not paying attention to the fact that eventually one day you're going to lose somebody, and coping skills are really important.
Yes.
There are some children who've been through, a lot more than an adult have, and they don't really have no kind of coping methods, nobody really supporting them. Yeah. So I feel like this would be good to go and, speak to the younger people about.
Yes, I think so too. Because a lot of kids, you think about children hold things within. I mean, when I was growing up, there's some things I withheld. So they do, and they don't have an outlet to talk to someone. So either have something to read, or, like you said, to go and start talking to them about, at some point in your life, you're going to lose someone you love.
Right.
Just to kind of prepare them would be something good to do.
That would be. It really would be. I think it would minimize, damage, because you're never going to be able to eliminate, and, you're never going to be able to eliminate the bad things, but, help a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see. Is there anything else you want the readers to know?
Again, I said, if you are experiencing anything that has been traumatic, or you're going through something right now, you need someone to talk to, reach out to me. And I would love to talk to you about your story and see if there's any way that I can help you.
Right. I like that. I definitely like that. All right. So, everybody, that was Miss Cheryl Peavy.
Thank you.
And her book is Take All the Time That You Need. Go and buy it. I'm going to go buy a copy right now.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
You too. Thanks so much. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.